Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for practice owners and leaders, where we are obsessed with how to build a successful practice and get a life too. Hi, I'm Chuck Blakeman, and we're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time, get off the treadmill, and rehumanize dentistry by giving everybody their brain back. Today, I'm talking with Duane Tinker. He's a nationally renowned consultant who helps dentists establish and maintain their compliance and risk management programs. Duane has inspected hundreds of dental offices and thousands of dental records. I get a headache just thinking about it. He's a subject matter expert sought by attorneys nationwide who represents dentists in civil and criminal Medicaid related actions. He's also a former state board investigator turned consultant. Tink, as he calls himself and people call him, applies his knowledge and experience to help make dental offices safer for dentists, their patients, and their staff. Tink also has a podcast called Talking With The Toothcop. It's a great podcast, Talking With The Toothcop. If you haven't signed up, you should. You can find him on iTunes, and you can also find them at dentalcompliance.com. Duane, it's great to have you on our show today.
Thanks for having me, Chuck.
You bet, man. It's great to see you and talk to you again. It's been way too long. We need to find out how to get somewhere where we can have a beer together.
I look forward to that. Hey, I heard you wrote another book.
Well, it's written, but it's not out yet. And
Okay.
I have two working titles. One is Rehumanizing Dentistry by Giving Everybody Their Brain Back.
Okay.
Which begs the question, I thought everybody had a brain. Turns out, no, we've taken those away from them and we need to give them back. And we have 12 tools that'll come out in the book that will help people figure out how to get their brains back. My second book was called Why Employees Are Always a Bad Idea. We want to get people into the participation age, right, and get them stakeholders. And so that book is about the who, what, when, where, and why of the participation age. This next one's about the how. Here's the 12 tools that will actually help you give everybody their brain back. So thanks for asking. That'll probably be out in the spring. Stay tuned, film at 11 and all that good stuff.
Can I look forward to a signed copy? I love collecting signed books.
Well, I'd be glad to do that. No problem.
I look forward to it. So
you bet. All right. Well, let's get into this. Today's topic is the importance of having a big why, something we also call lifetime goals. Huge stuff. I just invested an hour and a half with a client of mine, a dental practice in Detroit, where they're working through this right now. What they have a big, or they're trying to figure out what their big why is, both as individuals and as a practice. So what's your spin on this stuff? Why is it important to have it? What is a big why? Let's start with that, and then we'll talk about why it's important. What do you, when you talk about big why, what do you mean?
You know, it's that inner fulfillment that you get from what you do. I can't tell you how often I've talked with dentists who are they're miserable. They hate being a dentist, but they're stuck.
Yeah.
They don't have any other option. I mean, you know, they're limited for financial reasons. They're locked in to the lifestyle that they have. You know, for them to walk away from that and do something different, like, you know, start a rock band or something, it's not going to happen as much as they want to. They're stuck.
Yeah.
And man, I tell you, to find your big why, and to, you know, to wake up when you're in that position. I found that why for me. And that's why I woke up a police officer one day, and the next day I woke up as the tooth cop, you know, a consultant, and trying to work with good people to show people how to do it right. I wake up every day. I don't care how exhausted I am when I go to bed, which is every day. Every day I wake up and I'm excited to get up and say, what's going to happen today? It's fulfilling. And no matter how exhausting it is, at the end of the day, it's hard to shut it off, and that's how you know that you're working within your why.
Steve Jobs had a great statement on this. He said, I didn't get up in the morning thinking about being the richest guy in the cemetery. I got up thinking about what cool technology could we make next that would be transformative in the world around us. And I think that's part of what we miss too often. We're going through the process, and we think the process should be fulfilling, when actually it's the result. What are we doing for people and for ourselves? What are we doing in the world around us that makes an impact? That's where it really comes from.
Yeah, for sure.
So so big why stuff. What do you feel like drives you? You know, could you put that in? Do you have a short statement about that, or is it just the fulfillment of knowing that every day you've done this compliance stuff for dentists? You feel like you've moved the world and their world forward a little better.
Another conversation that you and I had, you talked about the difference between, here's a nut, versus here's a washing machine, make a good washing machine.
Yeah.
For me, it's our company motto, we make dental offices safer for the dentist, patients, and staff.
Yeah.
And, every situation that we encounter, every dentist that we talk to, everything moves us in that direction. Whether it's, an infection control, finding and correcting a potential problem, whether it's, relieving, being able to answer some questions for the dentist that they were worried about, whether, whatever the case may be, it's, helping somebody resolve a problem they were really stuck on, but they were really worried about. It's getting those thank you calls that, man, thanks for doing what you do, because it allows me to do more of what I want to do. And that's important. Taking steps toward, one office at a time toward that mission of making some office, safer for the dentist, patient, staff. And
so query me this. I talk about this sometimes. Making money is not an empowering vision. What is it about a big why that's bigger than making money? Because we were taught, come out of dental school, make a buttload of cash, and somehow you'll be happy. But I can tell you, everybody I've talked to that has made more than $125,000 or $150,000 a year says, once you get past being able to buy a hot tub and do 2 weeks of vacation, there's no relationship between money and happiness. What is it about the big why that drives you more than making the money? Not that you can't do both, but.
I was thinking about this. I don't even know how much I make.
Well, there you go. That's part of it.
I don't. I mean, my wife handles that, and do we have enough? Can I spend some money?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm making. I don't care. And I think maybe that's an enviable position.
Yeah.
Geez, what was your question again?
No, that's a great response to it. Is that too often and so much of this stuff comes from the industrial age. So that's my third book is all the dumb stuff we got out of the factory system.
Yeah.
One of the things we learned from the factory system was that you really shouldn't have a big why, because if you're putting a nut and a bolt in a washing machine in a factory system, and I need you focused on that 8 hours a day, it's dehumanizing work. I can't actually have you asking questions. What am I doing here? Because you'd leave. Yeah. Well, what is my life all about? How does this fit into making my life meaningful in the long run? If I was a factory owner, I don't want anybody asking, what is my big why? Because very few of them would want to stick around after they figured that out. So we come out of this. So what did they replace it with? They said, hey, you need to chase money. You're not going to have a why. You're going to invest the overwhelming majority of your good life slaving away 8 to 12 hours a day. And we're going to pay you money. Money is what you should be chasing. That's the golden nugget. That's your big why, is how much money can I make? And your secondary big why is make the company famous. Be a company man. It was all about, I'm Big Blue. I'm part of IBM. And so you found your identity through the company. And this was all stuff the factories taught us because they didn't actually want you personally to ask the question, what is my personal big why? At best, you've got a corporate big why, and the personal achievement is your ideal lifestyle of making big bucks, and somehow you'll be happy. But the research on that says we're in trouble if we go after that. There's one bit of research I put in my second book. It says a person who retires at 50 is more likely to die at 60 than someone who retires at 60 is to even die at 70. I call it death by golf.
Yeah.
When you stick a fork in me and I'm done is not a natural human state. Right. We need a why that is bigger than dentistry. It's one of the reasons that people fear coming into the end of their dental career. It's like, I got nothing after this except golf. And I can guarantee you, I was a 2 handicap. It's not all that special. Once you figure it out, the very few people who actually love playing golf 7 days a week, I don't want to be around them. It's called narcissism. So we need a bigger why than just getting drunk and playing golf.
Yeah.
What is it we're giving our lives to that's bigger than dentistry? And then how does dentistry help me get that? I had a friend who epitomized this. He came to me one day, and after we went through this exercise of the big why, and he says, I got my big why. And I said, how do you know that? And he said, Well, because it has me. And I said, well, let's test that. How do you know it has you? That's a clever statement. He says, well, it's real simple, because now that I've clarified what my big why is, everything I do gets filtered through it. I always ask, will that help me achieve my big why? Whether it's starting a new business or buying a copier or hiring someone or letting someone go or helping a little old lady across the street, it's all filtered through my big why. And he says, that's how I know it's got me, is that it's the perspective through which I filter everything. And I think most of us are taught the short term, I got to pay my lease, I got to pay my folks. And we never get to, what am I doing this for? And then filtering today through next year. We're filtering today through tomorrow at best, but we're not filtering it through, what is my legacy? And that's the huge value of this. Once that gets turned on, look out. You can see it in dentists' eyes when they've got a big why. They're so much more engaged.
You know, it's funny. Most dentists, their big why has nothing to do with dentistry. It's just the vehicle.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. My big why has nothing to do with helping dentists. Helping dentists is a big part of my big why. My big why is to live well by doing good. What the heck does that mean? You know, that sounds like a bunch of woo-woo crap. But the reality of it is, I could do that as a truck driver or as an advisor in the dental industry, as a podcaster. There's a lot of ways I can live well by doing good. Everybody's big why is bigger than their job. And that's one of the lies of the industrial age, is that your job is your big why. No, it's not. Not for anybody. Even if you love dentistry and you're passionate about it, there's something bigger that drives that would drive you if you were doing something else. And that's a great question to ask. If you weren't a dentist, what would make you happy? You know, what are the things that would actually drive you? You'd find something else, but there's something bigger than dentistry that's driving this that makes you happy. But I love your perspective on it, that you really don't even know how much you make because you're so passionate about the day-to-day desire to live out your big why. That's I think it's good to know what you make. I think it's, I'm glad your wife does. I know that Jackie knows what you make. So somebody needs to know what you make. Somebody needs to be paying attention to that. But I think that's a testimonial to, hey, I'm really buried in what's important here. It's not about how do I bilk the next dentist out of $50, but it's how do I make dental offices safer for the staff, the dentists, and the patients themselves. That's big why stuff. That's awesome. What else have you found out about big why that helps you and helps your staff? And maybe, how do you communicate that within your office?
I love when we get a phone call or a letter or a card from one of our clients. I love sharing that with our team, because especially our new people, it helps them to better understand that what we do really impacts people. It really is meaningful, and kind of helps build their excitement about what we're doing. Kind of helps reinforce to them that it's not just an 8 to 5, that what we actually do matters.
Yeah, we don't share that stuff enough. And and a lot of times for a dentist, it doesn't come in as a written thing. It's while they're in the chair or on their way out or on their way in. Hey, it's great to be back. Simple little things like that. We should train our team members to share that stuff in our huddles. Hey, what'd you hear yesterday? We talk about in leadership, the idea of beating the drum gently and relentlessly. What are the things that you need to be doing on a regular basis to help people to emphasize the right things? And your big why ought to be something that is lived out within your organization. It's called a vision. What's your vision for your organization? For ours, it happens to be the same. Live well by doing good. We've retested that many times. I've told people, just because that's my personal big why doesn't mean we have to keep that, but they've embraced it as their own. Everyone in the business wants to live well by doing good. And we regularly help each other remember that stuff. Here's a great ritual. Do this once a week, or maybe every morning. If you're doing I would recommend you do a daily stand-up, or especially a weekly, but certainly a daily is great. Have somebody repeat the vision and mission statements for your organization, for your practice, and then ask this question. Where has anybody seen this lived out since we met last, whether it was yesterday or last week or that kind of stuff, and watch that stuff come alive. unless you do that, people think these are things that hang on walls. This should be living, breathing stuff that we have examples of every day.
Well, and I'll tell you, I thought that was kind of wacky woo-woo stuff too, because, you taught us that early on. But, Chuck, I can tell the performance level of my team weeks when we do review our values and we share examples or even lift one another up and, give an example of how somebody, how they carried out that vision, something that they did the week before. When we do that, their performance is much better than if we don't. And sometimes I just got to remember to get back to basics. It really does impact.
Yeah,
our whole
it
team.
really does.
So
yeah, I think
thinking it's wacky woo-woo, guys.
Yeah, well, I talk about this all the time. This sounds like the woo-woo crap, but this is hardcore success strategy. This is the hard stuff, and it's hard because we had the why beat out of us from about 1800 on through to 1975, early 1985. We began to reawaken to maybe there's something too. I ought to be living this life for a purpose, for a reason, not just to get through it. And we've had the why beat out of us. The older you are, the more this stuff sounds mysterious. And it's not because you're older. It's because you grew up in the shadow of the industrial age. And the industrial age, you think about in the factory and in today in business, and probably some dentists will cringe when they hear this because it's happening in their practice. What's the most human of questions? There's who, what, when, where, how, and why. And the most human of those is why. That's the most human of questions. What's the one question above all the other ones? If you're allowed to ask any question, you're not allowed to ask this one for the last 175 years of work. Why? If you ask why, what does that make you? A rebel, an outcast, a misfit? Yeah. You're rebelling against authority? No, you're being human. This is part of being human, and yet we don't let people ask why. I actually heard a dentist once tell his team member, when she said, why are we doing such and such? And he said, because I went to dental school and you didn't.
Ooh.
Now, that's not going to engender more whys.
Yeah.
That's not going to create curiosity amongst your team members. We need to all have big whys, and then we need to ask why and to encourage why. Why is the least asked, most important question in dentistry. We don't ask it because it sounds mysterious and it seems like it's hard to find an answer, but it's the most fulfilling question you can ask when you finally come with an answer. Here's why we're doing dentistry. That spreads like wildfire throughout the practice. And now people are coming to work. They're running to work to do something more than just fill a cavity. It is. And fortunately, there's a lot of research on this now. As well as I do that there's a lot of research that shows that companies that are focused on, and this works for any practice, not just companies, that are focused on something bigger than making money will always make a lot more of it.
Right.
It's that idealism that says we're here to do something bigger than, like Steve Jobs said, bigger than just make the next widget. We want to do something that transforms the world around us. That gets people's juices going. And we need to live on that level. It's not a cult of personality. You don't have to stand on a soapbox and sing Kumbaya and chant at vision boards and do all that stuff. We need to have a solid view of what it is we're doing this for, and then just simply ask the question on a regular basis, if not daily, when did you see somebody live this out last? And I don't mean it doesn't even have to be in the practice. It can be, hey, I saw this on TV. I saw some guy helping a little old lady walking across the street. Anywhere we can remind people that we're doing this for something bigger than filling a cavity. That gets their juices going. So cool stuff.
Really
well, any closing thoughts on your end about what the big why means for you guys, or how someone could get a big why, or advice on that?
My encouragement to every dentist out there, that if you don't know what your why is, take some time off, step away from the handpiece, get out of the operatory, go find your mountain and go figure it out.
Yeah.
Because when you find it, your life is so much more fulfilling. And what's that old saying? When your why gets big enough, the how becomes easy.
Yeah.
You know? So go figure it out.
Yeah. Good. Well, I love it, Duane. I love that I've got a dental compliance guy talking big why, because that's that's the way it ought to be. If dental compliance guys can get excited about a big why, there's not a dentist out there who shouldn't have theirs clearly articulated and running their practice. Duane, how can people get a hold of you?
Easiest way is through our website, dentalcompliance.com. It's got all the contact information there. Got a blog post to help you get to know us a little better. And
then we want to remind them to subscribe to Talking with the Toothcop, your dental podcast. I think that's an important thing for them to do is figure out what are the ones they need to be listening to. And this is, there's nothing else out there like this one. So Talking with the Toothcop, make sure you get on iTunes or wherever Stitcher, or wherever you do this, and subscribe to Talking with the Toothcop. Duane, it's been a gas talking to you today. We're excited about how you guys are doing, and let's keep talking.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity, Chuck.
You bet, buddy. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care. Thanks much.
If this podcast was helpful, please subscribe by computer or by phone, or connect with us at www.gottsummit.com, 2 T's, GOTT summit.com. That stands for Get Off the Treadmill. We have those summits quarterly for dental practitioners only. Or connect with us at www.chuckblakeman.com or email us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Let's get off that treadmill. Let's get into the participation age. I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Thanks.